This is Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance inside the beautiful state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, and we are joined today by Judy Emmons. She is a member of the Michigan State Senate, and I do want to tell you a brief story. I live in a nice area, whatever that may mean, right. And one of our close family friends had a 16-year-old daughter, has still, amen, and she ran away from home for a night and came home 3 months later. And
devastating to her and her family. She had been trafficked.
She had been trafficked in the sex trade. And even talking about it is hard. I have two daughters, 14 and 12, and I can't even imagine.
Your example tells the story that it can happen to anyone, anywhere. And I think that's what has been part of our motivation in our office as we look at our lives and the families that we deal with. But for the grace of God, it's any child, and not just girls, boys too, anyone. It can happen to anyone regardless of where they live.
And let's talk about where we are in Michigan, because one would think, oh, why would there be human trafficking in Michigan? I mean, we're not near a significant, we do of course have the Canadian border, but we're not near the southern border. But what we know is Michigan actually is a hotbed for human trafficking because of the Canadian border, and I didn't know this. Toledo, Ohio, somehow has become a center of the trafficking trade.
Well, it's a hub, north, south, east, west, and you can hop right on an interstate, and you're traveling and mobile, and you can take people wherever you want to take them. Devastating. We realize that in Michigan, we have areas where we have a lot of tourism,
right? And
traffickers love to bring people in for tourist events, especially events that are multiple days.
Could you imagine? Who are these sick individuals?
It is. It's heinous.
We also have to remember, it's not just these international girls that are being shipped in. These are Michiganders. These are Americans. This view of only folks who are somehow brought into the country, it's just false. It's completely false. It's children, it's adults, it's men, it's women, it's boys, it's girls.
That it is. And if you look at Michigan, we have, more urban areas, and then as you traverse north, a lot of beautiful areas, a lot of farmland. But I can tell you, my district is pretty much rural. A lot of wooded areas, beautiful natures, and. We have incidents that have just occurred in our area just last Friday.
Could you let us know briefly what happened to give us a sense of how we can be careful?
These were girls that were brought in from other states, every one of them, 12 girls. One of them escaped and was rescued by a soft-hearted individual that I know, and she managed to get home. But the other 11 we're concerned about, and so the reports have been made. Law enforcement is aware.
To this day, those 11 are still
as far as we
slaves.
As far as we know. She did manage to get away. For whatever reason, why would someone bring 12 girls into Michigan from other states, and it's in a rural area? Until you talk to the trafficker, you don't know. But there's money to be made, and really what we need to address is the demand.
And it's not just sex trafficking, by the way. There's also labor trafficking, which can be harder to uncover because it could be a domestic assistant.
Absolutely.
And one may not realize that domestic assistant is really not there of their own free will and is not able to leave of their own volition.
And more than likely, there may be a language barrier or things like that. Their papers may not be in order. So there's work to be done on that front as well.
Could you give us some clues, some tips, some hints as to how we might be able to uncover someone who's been trafficked? And I know on your website, I read it, and I thank you for having that on your website. There are tips for children, and there are tips for adults.
And clearly, I'll tell you the first one that you probably should, everyone can pay attention to, and that's just trust your instincts. Trust your instincts, because more than likely they're going to be right on target.
Right.
And then you look for other things. I had a friend who was in a mall with her husband. He was waiting for his wife, and he was watching two fellows watching the girl sitting on the next bench filling out a job application, and they just kept watching her, and he trusted his instincts and told his wife when she came back, and she warned the girl. Things like that. Traffickers go where people gather. They go to get their victims where people are young. And so they'll go to a skate park. They will troll the malls, especially in the winter here in our state.
Cold.
They will troll the bus stations, any place people are traveling, and they can spot them very easily. You want to look like you're walking with purpose. You want to look like you are there, even if you're young, that you are there to see someone, that you're not there alone.
And I was shocked to learn that sometimes a high school girl could be being trafficked. She's still going to school.
That is true.
And yet, she may even still live at home.
That is true.
Part of this sex trade.
That is true.
And what are the signals there?
Well, she's certainly going to drop in grades.
Right.
She's going to be exhausted all of the time. She's going to be very secretive. And her friends are going to change. These are all symptoms, things to watch for. And if she's keeping things from her siblings, another issue.
Let's talk about the girls. Because so often the girls may wind up being arrested. Maybe they're arrested for solicitation, drug possession. I'll call them victimless crimes. And then they try to get a job after they've been removed from the situation, and they have a record.
They do.
But I understand that you and your colleagues have worked to try to help these girls or guys get a fresh start. What do we do in that situation?
Well, there are opportunities for them they have to show that it occurred because of their trafficking situation. So almost like being coerced into committing a crime that you normally would not do. And we have a friend who's working through that right now. She's 60. And she's working through getting her record expunged from when she was 15, 16.
So she had been a victim.
She had been.
Wow. And so under Michigan law today, there are provisions where you can petition to have these offenses removed from your record.
Yes.
So you don't have to reveal them on an employment application or wherever it might be. What about, have you had the chance, Senator, to work with prosecutors to inform them that maybe this girl should not be charged with a crime? Because in the final analysis, the issue is they are victims.
Correct.
And so, yes, they may be on the streets seeking clients, but they don't want to be on the streets. So have you talked to the prosecutors about, I have a feeling you have, tell me about this. Not enough, because they're still being charged. That's what's frustrating.
They are, and honestly, this is so systemic when you think of how everyone involved affects everything else. It's changing the way we think about certain crimes. It's thinking differently about how we charge them and what kind of penalties.
Right.
We need to look more at the Johns who are buying. If you can eliminate the demand, the supply will certainly decrease. I'd love to see it eradicated.
Right.
But yes, so the prosecutors then have to think about what kind of charges they're going to bring. Are they going to charge the Johns? Are they going to charge the traffickers? We have tried to give them the tools to go after the traffickers, but it's difficult because the best tool you have is the victim if they're willing to testify, and many are very fearful.
And under Michigan law today, if someone is 16 years old, can they be charged with solicitation? Are there changes being made to that law?
We're looking at other things that impact the whole process here. We aren't done yet.
I understand.
I wish we were, but we aren't, and more to come.
I know that you're eliminating, or you've extended the statute of limitations on trafficking, so it's a long process, but Michigan's lucky to have you as a champion on this issue.
Well, it's a privilege.
Yeah, her name is Judy Emmons. She is a member of the Michigan State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance, inside the beautiful Capitol in Lansing. This is Charter Local Edition.